An elderly New York couple says that they are trapped in their own home due to the state's eviction moratorium. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's going over the fate of an elderly couple who are landlords, and they basically have been put into financial ruin due to the state's eviction moratorium. Now, I've gone over a lot of stories like this before in the past because I like to highlight exactly what's happening to small landlords during these eviction moratoriums. So this couple wants to sell the property and they can't sell it because they have tenants in there who are not paying. And basically what's happening is they're ruined financially because of all this mess. Now, before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below, and let me know what you think, okay? Let me know what you think of this article, afterwards, and tell me if you're on the side of this couple or not. Do you think it's right that a couple should have to keep a tenant in their property when they're facing financial ruin? I mean, I don't. Now, they say, okay, well, we've got all this rental assistance and that'll cover the landlords. Well, it doesn't, okay? Landlords still will end up, deeply, deeply in trouble while they're waiting for the rental assistance, if they're even eligible to get it at all. So, this article comes from Bronx.news12.com, and it says, New Rochelle couple, New York eviction moratorium is trapping them in their own home. And let's see what it says. A New Rochelle elderly couple says the state's eviction moratorium has trapped them in their own home. The New Rochelle home is the nest egg of Assunta and Aldo Leon, but the couple says a long list of health issues is signaling to them it's time to sell their home. We don't have the money to maintain this house, and we cannot pay the bills, says Assunta Leon. And that's very, very common, okay, for small landlords in particular. If you have one property and then your tenant decides that they don't want to pay rent anymore, guess what? You can't pay the mortgage. You can't pay the insurance. You can't pay the taxes, okay? Your utilities, if you have to pay utilities, you can't pay that anymore. You can't pay for capital expenditures like if the furnace needs to be replaced, if the air conditioner needs to be replaced, if the roof needs to be replaced, because you were using the money from the cash flow from the rental income to pay for this stuff. And so when they put these eviction moratoriums in place, they didn't consider any of that. They just threw it in place. They were like, oh, well, we can't put these people out. Well, guess what? They found that the CDC's eviction moratorium was unconstitutional. And my personal belief is that the state eviction moratoriums, like the one they still have up in New York, it's unconstitutional as well. Now, I truly doubt that it's going to be, tossed out, but I believe it's supposed to expire next month in January of 2022. So hopefully, if it does expire then, they don't renew it again, but who knows? Okay, we're talking about one of the most liberal, tenant-friendly places in the entire country, and it's very likely that they're going to say, hey, we can't put people out in the middle of the winter. Well, that's just bad news for these landlords here, okay? So these people, they need to sell their property and they're not being allowed to do it, and that's just not right, okay? They say they are trapped in legal limbo because their tenants refuse to leave, and the state's moratorium on evictions renders them helpless. We need to sell the house and go someplace where we can get the help, says Leon. Their tenants stopped paying their $2,100 a month rent a year ago. News 12 spoke with Addison Klutchko, who says he and his mother applied for help through the state's emergency rental assistance program. I already looked up the qualifications. We will get approved for it, he says. Yeah, meanwhile, this landlord is $25,000 behind on your rent. Okay? You're behind 12 months, you owe $2,100 a month. It's a little over $25,000 what you owe this landlord. And it doesn't matter if you will get approved for it if the credit, the finances, etc. of these landlords is completely ruined while they're waiting. Oh, what a joke, okay? They had the rental assistance program close to a year ago. You should have applied for it immediately if you thought you needed it. But the Leons say they want to sell as soon as possible, which is why their attorney advised them not to use the program because it prevents landlords from evicting tenants for a year after receiving funding. Instead, they are hoping the state's eviction moratorium isn't extended past January 15th so they can pursue legal action. So yeah, that's one of the kickers right there, okay? If you accept the rental assistance money, I mean, these tenants say, oh yeah, we'll get approved for the money. That's great, but we want to sell the property. We don't want you in there for an additional year, okay? So we would be forced to keep you in there for an additional year. So let's say that they get paid the rental assistance come this month. Okay, let's say they get paid this month. Well, they have to keep those tenants in there until December of 2022, and they are unable to evict them. That's how ridiculous this whole nonsense is. And get this, the tenants don't have to pay you another dime either. So they could pay you all the back rent that you're owed, maybe. And, I believe they can pay up to 3 months of future rent, but then, for the next 9 months after that, they don't pay you anything, and they have no chance of even getting an eviction, at least until December of 2022. Then you could file the eviction, but the tenants could just leave at that point. So the tenants had, at that point, received 2 full years of not having to pay any rent. It got to stay in your place. You were unable to sell, and you still ended up in the hole because the rental assistance program did not completely reimburse you for everything that you were owed. So you got screwed, basically. And it's all caused by government overreach, government bureaucracy, and unconstitutional actions by these government officials who put this stuff in place. So yeah, this is a prime example of why I do not believe in these eviction moratoriums, okay? And hopefully these people are right. By January 15th, this whole thing will just come to an end. They will be able to file for eviction against these people, get them out of the property, and be able to sell it, because that's all they really want. They don't want these people up in their property any longer. They got to get rid of the place. That's my big fear, because we were waiting before, and they extend, says Leon. Klutchko says he and his mother, who is battling cancer, feel trapped as well. He says both of them are unemployed with few options. If we had an opportunity that we can be out of this situation, I would take it. But we are still in the middle of a COVID pandemic, he says. Now, I can understand your mother. Okay, she has cancer, she's going through treatment, etc. She might not be able to work. But why don't you go get a job? That's a nice option right there. You go get a job. Why? What are you doing? You're unemployed? I mean, everywhere I go, there are more jobs than there are people out there right now. And they're paying decent wages. Go get a job. Okay, and start building your finances back up and move along. Pay back the landlord the money that you owe them. I hope that these people, when they finally do get this family out, that they, sue them for as much money as they can possibly get back, hit their credit hard, send the debt collectors after them, do whatever it takes, because this is absolutely ridiculous to be owed $25,000 from these tenants, and all you really want to do is just sell your property, and you can't. So yeah, I mean, this is a frustrating situation. I do feel for this guy's mother who is battling cancer, but here's the question for you, okay? How were you paying rent before the pandemic? Okay, were they both working before? I mean, come on. Why can't you go get a job now? What happened in your financial situation that changed so much that neither of you have any income to pay the landlord for over a year? Okay, that's my question. Now, I know for a fact that during that last year, they had multiple stimulus checks that were paid. They had extended unemployment benefits, etc. And you didn't pay any of that money to your landlord. You didn't think that, hey, maybe we should, use this money to pay the landlord the rent. You guys got to go, okay? It would be nice if these people just left on their own, but instead they're going to force the landlord's hand. The landlord's going to have to spend a lot of money to get them out of there, regardless of what happens. The Leons and their tenants have a court date next month. A lawsuit has been filed by the Building and Realty Institute challenging the constitutionality of the state's eviction moratorium. New York is one of only a handful of states in the country that still have a ban on evictions in place. Again, I've actually heard about multiple lawsuits against the New York State eviction moratorium. Some of them not doing so well right now. But, the funny thing is that the eviction moratorium will likely expire before any of these court cases, is even heard or a decision is actually made. So the best case scenario for these landlords and for other landlords in New York right now who are suffering is to wait it out till January 15th. But like I said before, I am very doubtful that they're just going to let it expire in the middle of winter when everybody's, it's cold, we can't let people freeze to death and, whatever, okay? So landlords, New York, hang in there.